How was the universe created? How were we born? How did life descend upon this planet Earth? All these questions and further questions that arise out of these questions, like, is it all by chance a Big Bang? Or is there a supreme conscious being who has created us? And how does he function? Is he a he or a she? Who is he or she? All these questions have not only baffled scientists, but also the general public. Today we have amongst us Swami Agnivesh, who is a renowned Arya Samaj scholar and also a very, very, very famous social activist. His work has included against oppression. He has fought and championed the rights of bonded and child labor, and also against this entire concept of capitalism and materialism. Swamiji, please tell us, what is your concept of God?
Whatever you have said about the God, the creator of the universe, God, the sustainer of the universe, and God, the destroyer of the universe, all these three concepts merge into one. God the creator, God the sustainer, and God the destroyer. And when we say a God, we might call it Paramatma or Ishvara or Allah, but what Vedas connote through this concept is a God is omnipresent, God is omnipotent, God is omniscient. When we say God is omnipresent, we mean God is all pervasive. And when we say all pervasive, it means every particle of my own body.
Pervades with
every particle of the universe.
Yes.
And I am part of the universe. As a matter of fact, the scientists tell us that the human body is like a microcosm of the whole universe.
Yes.
Now, if this body is containing 100 trillion cells, as we are being told, each cell is being pervaded by that supreme consciousness, call that by any name, God or Allah or Ishwar, Paramatma, Om or whatever. Now, how is that possible? That such a God is pervading me and yet I am not God. The God is pervading everything else, the material objects in the world, and yet those material objects are not God.
Now, in between, I would like to ask you, is this one God, or like the Hindus have come to believe, like, or what we call it polytheism? Are there several forces at work here? Are there several gods? Is it just one, or are there several gods?
Well, Vedas is interpreted by the greatest of the great Vedic scholar, Maharishi Dayanand. It's very clear there is only one God.
Okay.
Absolutely. Like the Islam says about Tawheed, La ilaha illallah, there is one God, no other God.
Okay.
Now, similarly, we believe that there is only one God, who is the creator, sustainer, and destroyer of this whole universe. And because there is a purpose behind this creation, and that purpose is to enable, to facilitate the souls, innumerable souls, to experience that ultimate happiness, which is not their intrinsic attribute. The God creates this beautiful, beautiful, vast, immeasurable, boundless universe to help the souls in a way, in a dialectic way, to transcend their body, transcend their material being and aspirations, and experience that bliss or whatever we call.
So you mean to say the God, I get your point that it's what you're talking about, it's different from, it's not polytheism, it is a concept of monotheism, but it's radically different from the Islamic or the Christian approach.
Or even Judaism.
Or even Judaism. But what I wanted to know is that God has created the entire universe and earth just so that the souls can experience happiness.
Yes. There should be some purpose behind creation and human existence. So, we have been told by great scholars of the Vedas and other Upanishads, etc., that the purpose, the main object behind this whole creation and sustaining it is to help souls experience that bliss, that happiness, that ultimate happiness. Now, how do we do it? That's another matter. But it's through worshipping such a God.
Yeah, but don't you think this purpose is kind of very confusing when the size of the universe is so large? I mean, why create such a large universe when you just have to create life on one planet?
No. Why we presume and end up by saying that there is life only on this planet?
I'm talking about the hypotheses the science has put on right now.
So the scientists are still trying to explore life on other planets.
So you do believe that there might be possibility?
There is, of course. I mean, if there is such a vast, boundless universe,
okay,
it cannot be just without any purpose. So I just like to presume that there is life on other planets, maybe similar to us, maybe slightly different from us.
Yeah, other form of intelligence, yes.
But ultimately, if we human beings are born on this planet Earth, what is the basic object of my life? Why I have been doing what I have been doing?
But don't you think
when I ask myself this very question, the final, the ultimate answer I find is I am seeking happiness.
But being a seeker, having an object in life or giving life a purpose, don't you think it's a human tendency?
Yes, it's very much human tendency.
So aren't we then applying a human tendency to the so-called divine? In a way, we are creating the divine ourselves.
No, we are not creating a divine. The divine is there for us to experience, and through that experience the bliss.
Okay.
And we literally do that. I mean, we really, when we transcend our bodily existence, or whatever we say, ego and other things, we experience a different type of happiness.
Yes, yes indeed. Yes.
Yeah, so that lightness and that peace and that profound sort of experience which we have.
But that can well come from the brain level also.
Yeah,
like
maybe,
even drug addicts experience that kind of. Yeah.
I'm not denying that.
Have you experienced any such thing in life?
Yes, whenever I have been in deep meditation, I have experienced that several times. But I'm not saying that this should be the topic of our discussion. Why I'm saying so is that today we are finding the whole of our planet Earth being fraught with so much of inequality, injustice, violence at every step. Now let us try to reduce this level of violence and suffering of human beings. Experiencing that blissfulness or whatever should follow. But as long as we say that we are going to temples, mosques, churches, etc., we are trying to relate to our Creator, God, Allah, Ishwar, Paramatma, etc. Then we should be very clear as to what we really mean. And are we really doing it? Now here the Vedas show a different way. They say, if God is present in every particle of the universe, human beings, you should look for such a God inside of you and not outside of you. Because inside of you, you are there as a soul or whatever you say, and God's presence is there. So the best place for communion with God is inside of your body, mind, soul, etc. And not outside. Now the God which has been created or we are being told to worship in temples in the form of a deity or an idol or etc. Well, if God is present in everything in the universe, God is
so
definitely
you think
present.
that it is not good to go to a temple or a mosque or a church. It is worthless. What you should do is to worship God inside you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm giving a simple sort of...
No, that's a very good point, and I think most of the youth would agree with you. But then how do we worship?
Well, I'm saying that first of all, let's recognize the attributes of such a God. How can God be present in the whole universe? How can God be present inside of my body? And I am not God. the matter I'm touching, this book or this anything, is not God. And yet God is pervasive in everything. That means God is like a formless energy.
Okay.
The energy of truth and love and compassion and justice. Like many of us agree that God is truth and God is love and God is compassion and God is justice.
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about attributes of God, the Creator, we come to these
And
qualities,
how do
attributes,
you
we
know
say,
that these are the attributes of the God?
because we find so much of compassion in this creation. Our own body,
Okay.
the way we are born, the way we grow up, the force of compassion is working all through.
I
Love
just
is
want to know,
working.
how is it not the force of evolution but the force of compassion?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. If we find that our life is really being guided by some force of compassion and love
Yeah, that's one way
and
of looking
truth,
at it.
and we are also fighting for justice, the urge for justice is deep within us. Whenever there is any injustice, there is a deep urge to resist such injustice. Whenever we see instead of love there is hatred,
Mm-hmm.
there is some resistance. Whenever there is untruth, then the urge for truth within us expresses itself in the form of some resistance.
But that can also be a conditioned approach. I mean, somebody has conditioned that this is justice and this is truth and this is what we have to do and this is not what we don't have to do. It's come out of the society more than it's our natural urge.
Well, even if we say that it is societal, then we should agree that over centuries, over
Yes.
millennia, the society has evolved itself in a manner that all of us human beings have a deep, deep, profound urge for truth and love and compassion and justice. Now, if these are the urges within us, how do I achieve them? How do I really cultivate the urge for justice deeper than what it is? That is the way to commune with a God, because
Okay.
God has been described
So you
in
are
all
saying,
religions, in all traditions, to be all love and all truth and all compassion and all justice.
okay,
Why I am trying to say this, the way we relate to the Creator should be through the creation. The creation is there,
mm-hmm.
and yet we devise a different type of a God altogether. Instead of relating to the creation, creation means all of us,
Yes.
humanity as one family. Instead of relating to all human beings and also relating to all living creatures on the level of compassion and justice, etc., we try to manipulate a godhood. We create an idol, or we create a church, we create something.
No, but in
And then
nature,
we try to say we are worshipping our God to get happiness or to get justice or to get love, etc.
no, but if you look in nature, there is no such thing as compassion. I think animals exist for their own survival, and their bondings, their all families that are formed are also on survival basis. Humans, on the other hand, because of their development of societies, have become more subjective than objective, and thus have developed such concepts as justice and peace and love and compassion.
Well, we'll come to these aspects of human nature and animal nature the subsequent stage.
Yes.
But let us first try and find out why we human beings, we are not animals,
Yes.
we
You're
are
right.
human beings.
Yes.
Why are we fighting with each other, killing each other, worse than animals? Yes?
Yes.
Why so much of hatred? Why so much of anger? Why so much of playing havoc with our nature? Can we not somehow practice our religion or spirituality so that we can overcome all these forces of destruction, all
Okay.
these forces of hatred, and create more of love, more of compassion, more of truth, and more of
Okay.
justice?
So yes, that's a very valid
let's
point.
address ourselves first to this particular issue.
Okay.
Because
So
we are not going to be just academic, as you rightly
yeah.
said at the beginning, uh, the universe and who created and so keep that aside. We'll come back to that. But right now, our human problems are dogging us. We have to be very, very clear about what's the human problem is today. Inequality, injustice, violence at every step. And why is so much of inequality and injustice? There is something in the structure, in the system, systemic injustice.
No, I get your point. So what you want to say is the Vedic concept of God, even though if it is not correct or correct, that's a separate matter, is the way out, is the way that is going to heal the world of its problems of oppression, of inequality, of injustice. That's your point is, and
Yes.
we should practice it because it is the only way forward which can lead humanity towards a peaceful and happy coexistence.
Yes. That's exactly what we should try to discuss.
Yes.
We may agree or disagree.
But
But
I get your point
our objective
when
has to be that humanity at this juncture
Mhm.
has to find solutions to their problems.
To its own problems,
And
yes.
these solutions should not be just piecemeal solutions here and there.
Yes.
They must be addressing the structural violence. The whole structural violence has to be addressed.
Yes.
And when we look at the structure of violence, systemic violence, then you will find that all the roots of the violence are somewhere. I mean, they start from a point when a human being is born.
Okay. Can you please elucidate on that?
Yes. Now, a person is born. Like I was born, you were born. It was not in my hand to be born in India. It was not in my hand to be born in a Hindu family. It was not in my hand to be born in a Brahmin family. And yet, by the sheer birth at a particular time, in a particular place, in a particular family, I was given this identity.
But
I'm an Indian.
I would say it was in the hands of the God you just talked about, who pervades every particle and who has force
Yes,
in every
yes,
particle.
Yes, yes. Now let's see. If it were in the hands of the God
Yes.
that I should be born at such a place, in such a family, was it also the intention of the God that by birth, my genes and my whole upbringing should be such that I should look at Pakistan or Afghanistan or Germany or Japan as something other than my own country?
No, that's something that we've been taught.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that how does it come? Now, I was born into a Brahmin caste,
Hmm.
and as a Brahmin, we look down upon the lower caste.
The
people.
lower castes.
Was it the God's intention that I should be born Brahmin, high caste, and those who are born Dalit or Harijan?
No, I get your point. It's not God's intentions.
Yes.
It is something that we humans have artificially created, all these
Yes.
differences.
So that's exactly what I want
But
to
my
drive
point
at.
is, and what I want to ask you is, are we then independent of that force that exists or pervades in every particle? Do we have this
Yes.
independence to act?
Yes.
And if he is all powerful, why doesn't he change it?
It's not a question of all powerful. When we say all powerful, or as we said earlier, omnipotent, the question would be, can God create another God like himself or herself? Bigger God than himself or herself?
Yes.
Now these questions themselves are, somewhat too academic
Yeah.
to be taken seriously. Now God is there creating the whole beautiful universe. We human beings have inherited this planet Earth.
Hmm.
And why can't we treat the whole of humanity as one family? Why are so many divisions? And these divisions start from the very birth. Now birth is not in my hand. What is in my hand is that I should celebrate my body, my birth, my life, my whole of human family in a manner God wants me to celebrate.
Yes,
Instead, I'm sort of I become a victim, or I'm just led to believe that no, I am born in a higher caste, and those who are born in a lower caste are inferior human beings. They are born of a lesser God, something like that. God is one. The same God is giving birth to me and to the other child.
Okay.
The same God is giving birth to a male and also to a female. Same God is giving birth to an Indian and to a Pakistani and Afghanistani. Now look at God's intentions or God's play. And there we should be able to discern the message clearly to make our own lives a little more spiritual, universal, and try to commune with such a God who does not want us to practice any caste system or any iniquity or injustice or violence for that matter. A God who wants us to share and care for everybody.
Okay.
So unless and until we address this very basic question, what is God? Is God responsible for my birth as a higher caste and your birth as a lower caste?
No, what if I leave this question alone? What if I celebrate my body, I do not propagate any form of injustice, I do not propagate any form of oppression, I celebrate life as it is, and I love all my fellow beings and even the animals and birds, and I do not go into this concept. If he is there, he will love me, and if he is not there, it's okay. As you are saying, if I lead this path, I mean, why then get into the debate of there being a God or not? Then one can just not worship anything and just lead a life of righteousness.
You get a message clear that when you are born, then you see all around you. Social forces, family forces,
Yes,
religious forces,
exactly.
who are trying to drive a wedge between you and the other. And why do you succumb? Why should I succumb to such manipulated concepts of God who tell me that I was born in a higher caste and you were born in a lower caste, because it's God's, the divine purpose behind it. Now I should refuse to buy that argument.
Okay.
I should say no, it cannot be, because the other was also born in the same manner,
As I was.
with the same sort of attributes, physical and others, as I am born, and the same sun is shining over him, and the same air he is breathing or she is breathing and I am breathing. So I should like to see the divine presence in everything and thereby try to celebrate the unity, of all beings.
Yes, okay,
So
I get
you
the
see,
point.
then so much of my conflicts, so much of my, problems will evaporate. They're all being created by some human being, some clever people.
And in the name of God.
In the name of God. Yes,
Yes.
exactly. That's what worries me most. You see, they are manipulating a God concept by which they are telling you that you were born rich or poor. Instead of trying to bring about social change, economic change, political change in the system, they indoctrinate you with a very, very subversive ideology by saying you should accept your fate. Your kismat, your taqdeer, your fate. You are born poor, you are born lower caste, you are born a woman. So accept your second class status. No, we should say it was not God's design that I should be born second class and you first class, you rich and me poor. These are all human-made sort of structures. And the way to worship a God, such a God, who is universal, who is all love and all truth and all compassion and all justice, what's the best way? As I grow into a young person, I should focus all my energies, moral, material, to fight this iniquity and injustice,
Okay.
to take on the forces of untruth and bigotry and hatred and violence and injustice all around me. As I am studying as in a school or college, I should be able to realize what's the purpose of my life, what's the mission of my life. if I'm trying to worship my God, my Creator, who gave me this beautiful, beautiful, the most precious, the most sacred body and mind and soul, etc., then should I not mobilize all my moral and spiritual resources to thank such a Creator and to say that all this injustice which is there is not the intention of God, it is somebody who has manipulated a God concept and tried to introduce a caste system, racialism, gender inequality,
No, but
and
why
economic
why
inequality.
did God allow that to happen?
See, God is not doing everything.
Mhm.
Human beings have got their own independence, their freedom.
So that evil thought, when it originated, like I want to know this because I know what the Christians say, that Eve ate the forbidden fruit and there's where the sin came from. I want to know, according to your thought, how did this evil come into being?
Yeah, these are the stories which I am just now pointed out. Some of these organized religions have created some text which they call religious books,
Yes.
and these stories, and then they manipulate the whole God concept that God creates man first, and then we find that God saw
Man
that
is
the man is
lonely.
feeling alone and
So
little,
yes, yes,
not so comfortable.
yes.
Then out of some piece of mud or some piece of one of the ribs of man, they create a woman, and then they are wandering in that garden,
Yes.
and then they'll find some apple. So all these stories are all manipulated stories. From that they derive this whole notion that we are born sinful. Yes? No?
Yes. Yes.
And there has to be somebody who will redeem us from all our sins.
Mhm.
So we have to bring faith on some Messiah.
Yes.
So they create all these stories in such a manipulative way that we are led to believe and blindly believe all these stories. And then we go to the church and then we pray and we say, "Oh Jesus, I have faith on you," or whoever others, I'm not just Jesus, Rama or Krishna or whoever. So they all have got these stories beautifully woven around this concept that, oh, you are a sinner and you will suffer in some
Hell.
sort of a hell,
Yeah.
and the hell is like this and the heaven is like that. So these religions have created. Who created the religions? We human beings. And we create all those dogmas and we create all those superstitions and we create those rituals by which we can overcome some of our, and
So
also,
you believe we are not products of sin, or we do not come from
no,
sin?
not at all.
So
We're
are
all-
we paid, I mean, do we get a punishment, or is there a model of justice in this concept of yours? If I do something wrong, will I be punished for that?
Of course. As you sow, so you reap.
Okay, so it will not be in a hell.
Absolutely, like cause and effect.
Okay.
There is no way that you can ever overcome the fruits of your action.